Well, goddamn, how the hell is everybody out there? If you don't know, you should know. My name is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and this is a special edition of Life's a Garden. We're celebrating Halloween this week. What? I said Halloween. What? Trick-or-treating. What? Scary movies. What? Dressing up in costumes. What? And if you're ready for Halloween, give me an oh, hell yeah! Oh, hell yeah! We are ready for Halloween. But before we get into today's episode, positive, motivational message of the week. I know y'all going to be out there celebrating, having a good time, drinking a lot of beer. Just make sure you're responsible. Get a safe ride home. DTA, don't trust anybody. But more importantly, DD, get that designated driver because DUI ain't fun for anybody. So be safe, have fun, drink plenty of beer. As a matter of fact, I think we need to crack open a beer right here because it is the 5th annual Halloween special of Life's a Garden. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you all so much for joining me here on a special edition of Life's a Garden. It is our 5th annual Halloween special. If you haven't yet, please like, share, subscribe, follow on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Help grow this garden, or in this case, this week, help grow this graveyard. And we really appreciate it. I definitely want to get into Halloween stuff, of course. As per the usual here, it is the Halloween special after all. But before I get into all that, I gotta talk about the UFC fights because I just got done watching them. And it's funny enough, as I'm dressed up like a pro wrestler this week, you can just call me Tombstone Cold for the Halloween special. I gotta talk about these UFC fights because, like I said, I just watched them. They were it was an early start time, started at noon Mountain Time, because it was over in Abu Dhabi. So whenever they do them in Abu Dhabi, it's an early fight card, which was perfect. The timing wise was perfect because I was able to get up, watch the fights, just kind of chill, and then here I am doing the podcast, and then tonight going out for a Halloween party. So it's perfect timing, dressed up in costume, had to shave the beard, wasn't exactly stoked about that. But you know what? I actually don't mind this look. Like, the goatee look, it's really not that bad. I've done this before, but it's not the first time I've had to shave my facial hair. It is tough when you've been growing it for so long and then you shave it down and it looks so different, it feels so different. But I'm going to set this belt down because it's going to get annoying for a whole hour's worth of podcasting. That's Smoking Skull Championship belt right there. World Heavyweight Champion. Stone Cold, Tombstone Cold, Steve Austin. So, like I said, watch the UFC fights. There's only a couple things I really want to bring up in this. And the main thing being that none of my fighters won. None of the guys I was rooting for. I didn't put any money down, so no sweat on that. I considered it, but thankfully it was the early start time, so didn't go anywhere to watch it. I just bought them at the house here and watched them here at the house. Magomed Ankalaev defeats Alexander Rakic, which... Okay, you know, I've never been a fan of Magomed Ankalaev. I'm not a big fan of any of those Dagestani wrestlers or those Dagestani fighters. I'll say this. Shara Magomedov, I think is his name. Shara Bullet is what they call him. The guy with one eye. He's blind in one eye. He's winning me over as far as these Dagestani guys go. Like, I like him because the thing I don't like about these Dagestani guys, it has nothing to do with anything besides the fact I think they're boring. I think they're boring fighters. They do a lot of wrestling. It's not a lot of striking, a lot of stand-up. They tend to be boring fights. But Shara Bullet is a stand-up fighter, so I've been enjoying watching his fights. He had a great finish in this fight. Magomed, he's more of a stand-up guy as well, but he's just arrogant, cocky, annoying, not really a big fan of his. Don't really know a lot about Alexander Rakic. I was pulling for him. He ends up losing the fight. So now it'll probably be Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight championship, which should be fine. I mean, it's been the fight that's been supposed to be happening, and it hasn't happened yet, so I suppose now is as good a time as any. But the main event and the co-main event, these are the ones that I was most interested in. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev is another guy that I cannot stand. Super arrogant, big loudmouth, great fighter. I take nothing away from him there. He's a great fighter, but it's also been really annoying to watch him where he hasn't been able to make weight in the past. He's made a lot of excuses. He's pulled out of a ton of fights. And again, he's just that boring wrestler type. Dominant fighter. Don't get me wrong. Dominant fighter. But still, you're a combination of arrogant and boring. That's not going to win me over as a fan. However, he submitted Robert Whittaker. First time Robert Whittaker's been submitted in his UFC career. And did it by breaking his jaw. Like, he didn't have a secure choke in, but you could see that he had it on Whittaker's chin, and just, however, the way it went down, and Whittaker panicked and tapped, you could tell it was something pretty bad. So if they were thinking that maybe he dislocated his jaw, the photos come out, his entire bottom portion of his teeth snapped and were pushed back. That's some fucking torque on that pull. To break somebody's teeth like that, oh, that was rough to watch. And then we had the main event, Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. I've generally not been a Ilia Topuria fan. Again, really arrogant type of guy. Has beaten a lot of the guys I really like. Like, he beat Alex Volkanovski, and they were really, going back and forth. He was, like I said, kind of a prick, kind of being arrogant, this, that, and the other. Seemed like he was toning down a little bit that coming into this fight against Max, but still had that arrogance a little bit. Again, great fighter. But I'm a huge Max Holloway fan. I really like Max Holloway, so of course I'm going to pull for Max. Fucker KOs Max Holloway. Max Holloway has never been knocked out in the UFC. In fact, I don't think Max Holloway has ever been knocked down in the UFC. So that is a huge accomplishment for Ilia Topuria. He's now knocked out Alex Volkanovski and Max Holloway in his last two fights. What more can you say, man? I mean, the work speaks for itself. And in his post-fight interview, he showed enough humility, respect, and I think I might be coming on board. That's what I love about this sport, I was the same with Alex Pereira before. I wasn't a huge fan, didn't really care for him. He won me over, and I'll probably get a lot of shit for talking down about a guy for being arrogant, being a Conor McGregor fan. I will say this. Conor's rise was the most exciting thing we've seen in the UFC maybe ever. It was very enjoyable to watch Conor's ascension in the UFC, and he really didn't become ultra arrogant until after he had won the championship. And when the money started coming in, that's when the arrogance really started taking flight, and that's where my fandom started to dwindle. Obviously, I'm going to give him a little bit of slack, him being an Irish fighter. Huge fan of Irish fighters, so that was a huge part of my fandom towards him too. And his arrogance has made me like him a lot less. So Topuria is kind of the opposite end. He was arrogant coming into the title fights, and now that he's a champion, he seems to be a more humbled, respectful champion. which is starting to win me over a little bit. After the victory, and you can't deny him, he performed excellent. I'm starting to come around. I think I'm becoming a bit of a fan. I'm not completely in his corner just yet, but I got one foot in there. So, like I said, that's one thing I love about this sport. I love the adrenaline rush you get when you're sitting there watching the fights happen as they're happening. I'm pulling for Max and I'm like kind of on the edge of my seat. My heart's pounding just a little bit extra. I love some UFC. So, I had to get that out of the way right off the top just because I literally, like I said, just finished watching them. So it's fresh on my mind. Yeah, great fights. Go back and watch them. And congratulations to Ilia Topuria on retaining his title against a legend in Max Holloway. Now, let's go ahead and talk some Halloween stuff. Might as well just start it off with my costume this year. Obviously rolling with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And if any of you remember, if you've been a fan for a long time, if you've watched some of the past Halloween episodes, I've mentioned before that this is a costume that I have dressed up in the past. First time, I think, in my life, besides maybe when I was a kid, because I would imagine there's probably been a time where I was like a Power Ranger a couple of years, twice, or if I was like a Ninja Turtle twice, something of that nature. But in my adult life, this is the first time that I have recycled a costume. Not something that I'm a huge fan of doing. I like to be original. I like to change it up. I like to be fresh. And this is the first time I've decided to recycle a costume. For multiple reasons. Now, the first reason being a couple months ago, I wore my Austin 316 shirt out. This is about a month ago, I should say. I wore my shirt out, and the amount of people that were like, oh, 316, like, fucking chug the beers, like, I was like, okay, people would be excited about this. I could see people enjoying this. That was check one. Check two, didn't want to wear a wig this year. Straight up didn't want to wear a wig, and there are a very few amount of characters that rock a bald head that I would like to be. And then, lastly, I already had the costume, so I didn't really have to spend any money. The only thing I did buy was this brand new belt, and it really wasn't that much, to be honest with you. So, there was a few reasons why. It's been about 5 years since I was Stone Cold last. I think that's a plenty long enough time to bring it back. This might be the one and only time I ever recycle a costume, because there is part of me that feels a little disappointed in myself for not, for originality not being there. Oh, this was another, kind of reason why I wanted to do it. The very first Halloween special I ever did of this podcast was, like I said, 5 years ago, because this is the 5th annual. I was Joe Dirt, which was perfect, obviously. Going along the theme of the name of the show, it just was too perfect to happen that way. The year before that is when I dressed up as Stone Cold, before this podcast even existed. So, and this is one of my all-time favorite costumes that I've ever done, right? Probably Little Nicky, and then this. And I wanted to feature it on the show. It just barely missed the last time I wore this. So I was like, it's got to be featured on the show. And I'm very excited to have been able to do that. So here we are, bringing it back. Like I said, it was sucky to have to shave the beard, but there's worse cuts. It doesn't look too shabby. I'm not hating on it. Feels really fresh. It's odd to feel the skin on my face for the first time in, I think, 3 years. 2 years. Because last year, I kept the full beard because I was Rob Zombie. And then the year before that, I completely shaved my face. First time I've done that in a long, long time. Fully shaved it. So it's been 2 years since my cheek skin has been exposed to the world. And it feels very weird. My face is literally kind of cold being here. I'm not used to not having any fur on the dome. But one thing I like to do every year here on the podcast, here on the Halloween special of the podcast, I should say, is predict what I believe will be the most popular costumes of the year. Okay? Now, this could be couples costumes or singles costumes, right? And I was really trying to kind of think of what would be popular, what were going to be some big ones. The first couple that came to my mind were Beetlejuice and Lydia. I think that would be like a good couples costumes, or just Beetlejuice in general, because that was a huge movie that came out just not that long ago. So it's pretty fresh, pretty relevant. Let's just stick in the realm of movies for a second. Deadpool, obviously going to be a pretty popular one, or Deadpool and Wolverine as a couple's costume. I would have said Joker and Harley Quinn, but that ain't happening because that movie fucking sucked, apparently. It's just been absolutely bombing. It's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, apparently. And, I don't imagine people are going to want to dress up as those characters, seeing as how, like, poorly received that movie was. Who else? Oh, Trump and Harris. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. That's a great couple's costume idea. Just elections right around the corner. So I would imagine that would be a good one. And now out of the realm, I guess that's leaving the realm of movies. What else do you think would be popular? There's the Hawk Tuah girl. I was trying to think of some like viral sensations that we've seen. I think the Hawk Tuah girl could easily be a costume this year. I think maybe the Chick-fil-A girl could possibly be one. We could see, I'm trying to think of some other viral shit that maybe happened, or what were some big memes that came out this year? Can we think of any big memes? I was looking at a list and somebody was saying Sabrina Carpenter might be a big one. I don't really know her all that well. I don't know how you would dress like her. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what would be... Yeah, see, Beetlejuice, they have that down. Oh, Dune. Dune could possibly be one. They got like... Oh, Shadow the Hedgehog was our new Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I guess I didn't think about kids' costumes. Well, what are going to be some big kids' costumes coming out this year? Yeah, see, they put Lydia and Beetlejuice. Why would Godzilla be on there? I mean, I guess that's probably popular every year. Oh, these are the most searched ones. Interesting. Okay, well that's... Oh, Raygun? Raygun, the breakdancing chick from the Olympics? That would be hilarious. I didn't even think of that. Inside Out for kids. Lady Deadpool. Yeah, they put Sabrina Carpenter on here too. I knew I had seen that somewhere. Wolverine, Gambit. Gambit would be a good one. That was a good meme or GIF or whatever where he's like, I'm about to make a name for myself. Okay, yeah. And they had Fortnite on there too. Interesting, yeah. So those are probably some of the more popular ones. So now that we know what those are, keep an eye out when you're at your Halloween parties and at your costume contests and whatnot, and see if those are some of the ones that are popping around a lot. That's why I like to go with something completely off, not popular. Something that's like Stone Cold. Who the fuck is going to dress up like Stone Cold? I don't want to be out running into 6 other costumes just like mine. I guarantee nobody dressed like Rob Zombie in this town last year. Little Nicky, who would have thought to do that? I'm sure some people around the world or around the country did that, but it's such a completely off-the-wall, non-relevant costume to do that's what makes it special. You go out of the way, you do something that's fun, that people know, and it's exciting. It's different. I love seeing costumes like that. You know what I don't like seeing? Are the costumes that are like a phrase. You know what I mean? Like, obviously nothing's coming to my mind just yet. Like, okay, so like in Bob's Burgers, Tina dresses up like none of your business. She's a nun, but she has like a briefcase. That is funny, But it's things like that where it's like, I don't get it. Like, if you have to explain your costume to me, I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah, if you have to, like, walk me through, oh, this is a horse being led to water. Huh? Come on. I don't like shit like that. While it might be clever, if I can't just figure it out by looking at you, you're not doing a good job of it. Being that I am dressed like Stone Cold Steve Austin, another relevant thing I could talk about here is I did watch the new Vince McMahon documentary. I finished the whole thing. Fairly interesting, I guess. It wasn't super... It was pretty much... It didn't tell me anything I didn't know. There was a couple things that I wasn't fully aware of, but if you're even a casual WWE fan, you would know most of the things that happened in that documentary. And the first 5 episodes are basically just hashing out the timeline of everything that took place and how this became this and how he built the brand up and the little things that happened here and there. But I guess it does kind of sprinkle in, here's a controversy, there's a controversy, like just little things that were happening throughout the years, eventually leading to episode 6, which culminates in all the sexual harassment and all the allegations that came out. And there was some pretty gritty details that I had not heard of yet in that 6th episode. So Vince McMahon would be a great villain, a great scary guy to be this year. I mean, that's fairly relevant, but I don't know how you'd pull that off. How perfect would it be if I'm out tonight and somebody's dressed like Vince McMahon and we go old school Stone Cold Mr. McMahon rivalry and I fucking throw a stunner on his ass? That would be hilarious. Because like I said, it's the Vince McMahon part is relevant. And he would be a huge villain to be. Also, though, leaning into the vein of the wrestling thing, I figured the costume is wrestling themed. We're doing the Halloween episode. How fun would it be to do a horror movie icon Royal Rumble? And let's see who the ultimate horror movie icon, and this is like if they were pitted against each other, who would come out on top? Who's the number one horror movie icon that would beat them all? Now, the original idea was to do like a Royal Rumble style, but how would I do that here on the podcast? That's a little difficult. You can't really put them all into one ring and then hash out who would win ultimately like that. So, instead, we're going to do it King of the Ring style, which is basically a tournament style. And we're going to call it King of the Scream. Now, the way we're going to do this, and we've done things like this before, it's, we've had, what did we do? Oh, I guess we've done a few brackets. We've done a few, like, tournament-style brackets. Last year, we did the, serial mascots, who would be the number one serial killer. But now we're actually doing serial killers. We're doing fictional serial killers. And what I really thought about this, because I was trying to think of all the different horror icons and who I could pit against each other. And it came to a very obvious conclusion that there are 2 different types of horror movie killers, horror movie icons. And that is those that are basically slashers, fairly mortal, but we're kind of using the loosely on that, We're going to be loose with the mortal aspect of it. But still, basically, they don't have superpowers. They just have a knife or a gun or whatever. They murder. They are just simply hand-to-hand combat type killers. And then you have the other ones that are more paranormal. They have supernatural powers. They are creatures. They are, and like, again, we're going to be kind of loose with this based on, the biggest difference being that Group A is going to not have supernatural powers, and Group B will possess supernatural powers. And I know you can blow me up in the comments here. I'm being a little bit loosely based on some of these, and we'll get to those as we go. But first, let's go with Group A. Group A being the non-supernatural. And we're just going to put it in a randomizer. And we're going to figure out who... Here we go. Okay, I had to find my list. We'll put it in a randomizer. It will randomly generate a bracket. And then... I already had it set up, but okay, here it is. Let's go. And then we're just going to... Like I said, it'll randomly put these in a bracket, and then we're just going to head-to-head them and see how it goes. Actually, I don't think this is the one I used last time. Bracket randomizer. There we go. Okay, this would be the one. Well, sorry for wasting your time there. I already had it ready to go, set up, and then I fucked it up. Well, goddamn, Steve, what the hell are you doing? Fucking it up over here. Wasting everybody's time. Fuck off. Non-paranormal. Killers. Okay. All right. So, again, we're going to be a little loose with this paranormal thing, right? Up first, we got Jason versus Jigsaw. Now, obviously, Jason is a little bit paranormal. He's the undead. However, he doesn't really have supernatural powers. He doesn't have... He just has a machete, okay? But we're going Jason versus Jigsaw here in round number 1. And I think this one's pretty obvious that Jason is moving forward. How do I fucking move this? Okay, well, I guess we'll just have to figure it out. Jason moves on, because Jigsaw is an old guy. If we're talking about, the guy behind Jigsaw, it's just fucking... What's his name? I can't think of his name, but... He's just an old guy, and Jason would destroy him. In fact, I would be so remiss as to say that Jigsaw probably wouldn't be anybody else on this list, honestly. Round number 2, we got, or bracket, I should say, matchup number 2. We have Ghostface versus Leatherface, the battle of the faces in this one. Honestly, just underneath, or just above Jigsaw for the possibly... quickest death, the lowest on this list, has to be Ghostface. Because he's literally... Any of the Ghostface killers that have been are just... I think they're mostly kids. And completely mortal. Nothing special about them. Leatherface is a huge motherfucker with a chainsaw that will take Ghostface's face and put it on his own. So, moving on is Leatherface. Matchup number 3. We got Michael Myers versus Captain Spaulding. Two of my favorites. Great couple of dudes right here. But it's got to be Michael Myers, right? I mean, I love Captain Spaulding. I would have done the whole Firefly family. But honestly, I think Michael Myers would have killed all the Fireflies too. And yeah, so I'm going Michael Myers. Again, you know, there's always that thing where Michael Myers is cursed by the devil or whatever, you know. But he's still just a guy. And Michael Myers moves on. And finally, our fourth matchup here in the first round, we have Chucky versus Art the Clown. I love this matchup, to be honest with you. This is a great matchup. Chucky, again, fairly supernatural, you know. He's a doll. He's a living doll. But doesn't have, like, super crazy powers. He does have the power to be able to change bodies, right? But still, he's falling into this group. Don't come at me. And then we have Art the Clown, who may or may not also have some supernatural powers. But this is a tough one, to be honest with you. This actually might be the toughest matchup in round one. because Chucky is sneaky, Chucky's crafty, hard to kill, but Art is just a maniac. He's it's so tough. And I love Chucky so much. I am going to give... I'm going to give the edge here to Chucky. And only simply because I like Chucky better. It has nothing to do with... I think they both would be a great matchup against each other. Chucky's too classic. I can't boot Chucky out of the first round against a guy like Art, as great as Art the Clown is. By the way, heard the new Terrifier movie came out and was just disgusting, but amazing. I can't watch those movies. Like, Terrifier is just one of those franchises. Okay, so round number 2 in the non-paranormal bracket. We have Jason versus Leatherface. Now, this is a matchup I can get behind. This is a great matchup right here. Because both are very large, both are very menacing, powerful, like I said, strong. Ah, man. I don't know here either. You know what? I'm going to give it to Leatherface. I know people aren't going to like that. People are going to think that's crazy because Jason is very powerful, very unnaturally strong. But I'm literally deciding this on the weapon of choice. I like the chainsaw to kill Jason more than I like the machete to kill Leatherface. That's where I'm at with this. Leatherface upsets Jason. I think, call it a Stone Cold Stunner. It's an upset. I'm moving Leatherface on. We got Michael Myers versus Chucky in this round number 2. I'm going to go, I love Chucky. I think he's great. But in this round, it's got to be Michael Myers. I think Michael Myers... I don't think anything Chucky could do to Mike is enough. I don't think it's enough to take out Michael Myers. Which leaves us with our championship round, Leatherface versus Michael Myers. And again, I'm going to use the exact same logic I used against Jason. And I'm going to go with Leatherface. Michael Myers is very slow. Leatherface actually does run. He's big. They're both big, right? They're physically, I think they could probably square up with each other pretty well. Depends on the version of Leatherface we're talking about here. But the one that I have in my head is the one that I'm going with. And again, I think the chainsaw fucks Michael Myers up over Michael Myers' knife. I mean, how many times has Leatherface been stabbed and lived? I don't think we've ever seen Michael Myers get his head chopped off by a chainsaw. So, I'm going... The one thing I will say between those two weapons, a knife or a machete is a lot easier to wield than a chainsaw, but Leatherface has no problem wielding that chainsaw. You've seen him fucking spinning that thing around and doing this little move. Alright, so our champion of the non-paranormal. I did not actually foresee that happening, but it's Leatherface. So, congrats to old Leatherface. Now, moving on to the paranormal group. Again, all of these are characters that have supernatural abilities. They are either creatures or just have some kind of magical power. That, yeah. So that's pretty much the only... And the reason I did this is because I figured the ones that had supernatural powers had a clear edge and they would have just swept out the other guys. I don't think it's any question that probably the majority of any of these people on this list would have beat our champ Leatherface. That's my theory. Leatherface cleared the room in the other one. I don't think he holds a candle to any of these guys on this list. Now, the other thing about this is, you're going to have to bear with me, because I have not seen a lot of these movies. I've seen a few of them. I just don't know them as well as the slashers. So I might fuck up some of the powers in this, okay? Matchup number 1, we have Pennywise versus Dracula. Classic villain. Pennywise. See, this is what's tough, okay? So Pennywise's power is solely based on fear. He has to make you afraid of something in order to be able to harness his power and kill you. Now, Dracula is a good matchup for this because I don't think Dracula is without fear. I think Dracula is afraid of the sun. I think he's afraid of garlic. He's afraid of a wooden stake. Like, these are things that, like, or a cross. Like, Dracula always, hides from a cross. So, Pennywise could potentially take advantage of that. And I think for that reason, Pennywise advances. We got, okay, this is an interesting matchup here. Matchup number 2 is the Leprechaun versus the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. Interesting matchup here. Because I've never really seen Jeepers Creepers, so I don't really know the powers of the Creeper. I have seen all the Leprechaun movies. Not all of them, but I've seen them enough that I know kind of what he's about. And just, like, here in a pure size, like, it comes down to size on this one. And also, the Leprechaun's a little dork. He doesn't take it seriously. I'm giving this edge to the Creeper. I think the Creeper advances in this round. Or in this matchup. Matchup number 3, we have Freddy Krueger versus the Nun. Now, here's another one that's tough because I don't really know the extent of the powers of the Nun, per se. I don't know that Freddy Krueger would be able to, like, infiltrate the dreams of the Nun necessarily. But again, this is just a tough one. Freddy's powers extend far beyond dreams, and he is pretty all-powerful. And kind of just based on the fact that I don't really know the Nun as well, I'm going to take Freddy Krueger to advance in this round, just because it's Freddy, and he's classic. Similar matchup to, like, the Chucky versus Art matchup. All right, and our final one here, we have Pinhead versus the Candyman. And I don't know the extent of the powers of a Cenobite and the leader of them being Pinhead. And I really don't know much about Candyman either. But I'd have to say, based on some of the things that I've seen Pinhead do, I gotta go with Pinhead in this one. Pinhead advances. All right, round number 2. We have Pennywise versus the Creeper. Now, here's where Pennywise's powers might have a disadvantage. I don't know that he's going to scare the Creeper as much as he would be able to with Dracula. Ooh, this is tough. But what advantage does the Creeper have against Pennywise? What could he do to beat Pennywise? I gotta take Pennywise in this one. I think Pennywise beats him. I don't know how. That's just a gut. I'm going purely off of gut here. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, because maybe you know something that I don't. This is why I saved the paranormal one for last. And then we got Freddy Krueger versus Pinhead. Wow. This is a tough one. Really tough. But I'm going to have to go with Pinhead in this one. I'm, again, just kind of going off a gut here. I don't know that Freddy Krueger... I think Freddy's powers limit themselves to a Cenobite. I don't think that there's much that he could do against a Cenobite. Unless, he were able to get in his dreams. But I just don't know that... I think the Cenobite would still just be more powerful. I think Pinhead would be more powerful. I'm moving on with Pinhead. And that gives us Pennywise versus Pinhead. And these are, like, beyond the supernatural. Like, these creatures are further than the realm of natural world. And I'm going to give the trophy in the supernatural round to Pinhead. I think Pinhead defeats Pennywise in some really... I don't know. Unless Pennywise were to use the Deadlights. But what are the Deadlights going to do against Pinhead? Really? I don't know. It could end up being a draw for all we know. And again, if you think I'm wrong, Tell me about it. What do you think? Give me your matchup. How you think all of those shake out. So we got Pinhead and Leatherface are our two champs, and Pinhead clearly destroys Leatherface. No problem. That's why I kept those two brackets separate. But yeah, there you go. There's your king of the screams. Leatherface and Pinhead. King of the screams. Now, if we were doing movies, if we were just purely matching up those movies head to head, different story. I think ultimately out of the other ones, if I'm just matching up all those guys from the first bracket, I think Michael Myers wins. I think the Halloween franchise as a whole is the best out of any of those. If you're head to heading any of those matchups, Child's Play, for me personally, close number 2. So the Chucky versus Michael Myers matchup, which was I think in the second round, actually would probably be my final round. If I'm going head to head with the two of them, I'm taking Halloween, but I think Chucky is a close second. I like that. I like that series, the Child's Play series. And then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. Now in the other one, let me think here. Who would I put? Whose movies do I like the most out of the supernatural ones? Again, not ones I've watched a lot of. Oh, it's probably the It series. I know there's only 2 movies. They're coming out with a new series, Welcome to Derry. I'm gonna go with Pennywise as my personal favorite. After that, it would probably be Nightmare on Elm Street for sure. Some of the later Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one was great. I just watched the original for the first time in forever, and it stands up. It's still really good. But after that, they start getting really weird and really campy, and they're kind of tough to watch. But the It series, I could watch them every year. So yeah, there you go. There is our King of the Scream tournament. I thought that was kind of fun. Do a little bit. We've done these before. These like tournament bracket matchups. Bless you. Bless me. Oh boy. All right. Let's see. Where are we at? What do we got going on here? So earlier this week, I went and did trivia. We did Halloween trivia, and your boy and his team, we won as a team. We got first place in the Halloween one. I don't even know why they call it Halloween trivia, because it was literally horror movie trivia is what it was. So the Halloween aspect of it wasn't really there, but still, your boy knows horror movies. And so we crushed. Ended up winning the whole thing. Awesome. A lot of fun. Now, the only reason I bring that up is because I learned a very interesting tidbit about the holiday of Halloween. So I already knew that the origins of the holiday that is Halloween, All Hallows Eve, originated with the Druids. The pagans, the Druids, that's where it sort of originated and obviously evolved over time and became what it became. I kind of maybe forgot where the Druids came from, but they're from Ireland. The Druids come from Ireland. And the origins of the Halloween that we know today, that began in America, came from Irish immigrants. The Irish immigrants started doing Halloween here. And I don't know how it exactly evolved into, costumes and candy and all the modern ideas of Halloween. And did you know it was also the holiday of Halloween is actually a Catholic holiday. It originated from the Catholic Church, even though, that doesn't make sense to me either because, it's paganism and Druids and that's anti-Christian, or it's Catholicism. So maybe I misread that. But it is interesting that, Irish Catholic, and then you have kind of the opposite spectrum of it. But I thought it was very interesting to discover that the Irish are responsible for Halloween. And now, being an Irish descendant, being Ireland is the culture and the that's my motherland. That's the place that I call home. That's where I align my background to, because it's where I'm from. It's where my lineage derives. I just can't get over the fact that one of my favorite holidays, Halloween, is an Irish holiday. So I just wanted, on behalf of the Irish people, I wanted to tell all of you out there, you're fucking welcome. You're welcome for the holiday that is this amazing festivity of Halloween. You thought we just had St. Patrick's Day? Well, so did I until this year. Hey, St. Patrick's Day, take a seat back, because Halloween just leapfrogged you as the best Irish holiday. So, how you doing? Keep it moving. Boom. In true Stone Cold fashion. There you go. So there's a little trivia for you. I do want to say, just briefly, make sure you go out and vote. We are in the election year, and the election is coming up fast. So I should do my part and tell you, go out and vote. I'm not going to sit here and try and preach to you and tell you who you should go vote for. But whether it's for Trump or Kamala, go out and cast your vote, because voting is one of the greatest privileges and freedoms we have in this country, and you need to exercise it in order to, do you know how many countries would beg to be able to vote for their leaders? So make sure you exercise that freedom that you are gifted with, being a American citizen. That might be the most terrifying thing of the year, to be honest, is just how is everything going to shake out? I mean, in all honesty, between whoever gets in, I don't think we have anything to truly fear, as far as there's certain things that I'm not stoked about with either candidate. But the real fear is, what's the other party gonna do when the opposite one gets in? Because either side could go apeshit. We could see January 6th, but times 10 from either party. Either side could completely riot, and we could see just mass chaos. But who knows? Maybe it's not that at all. We'll find out. And that's why, out of all the scary things this Halloween, this upcoming election might be the most terrifying. So buckle up, everybody. But seriously, go out and vote. Cast your votes. It's important. And, it's a big freedom that you have, and you should exercise it. That's all I'm saying. And by the way, if you want to hear more about my thoughts, and if you actually want a little bit of persuasion or whatever, tune in next week, because I'm doing my first ever election special, and I got a special guest coming on. It's going to be a interesting time, to say the least, but I'm not going to get too far into that. Just want to let you know, next week is going to be the election special, so stay tuned for that. And that might be an even more terrifying episode than this one, because God knows I might just get completely owned by not only the guest, but by you guys. You guys might just completely fucking wreck me. So I'm shivering in my boots on that. Okay, I wanted to tell you about this too, because this just happened last night. Went to Theo Von. Theo Von, the comedian, came to town. Got to go see him at the Metra. Super cool. Loved it. It was a great time. This is a guy that convinced me to do podcasting. He's one of the guys that got me into doing this, and one of the guys that I looked up to for doing the podcasts. So I've been listening to him for a long time, is what I'm saying. And to see him come out in person, to be just right, he's in the same room. I got this really emotional, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I was like, holy cow, here's this guy I've been listening to on a weekly basis, who's given me a lot of joy, a lot of laughter, and a lot of inspiration in the last 4 or 5 years. And here he is in the flesh, And it was just one of those moments where I'm just like, damn, like this is really cool. This is just awesome to be here in this moment. And the show was fine. You know, I've never really been as big of a fan of his stand-up as I am of his podcasting. Still hilarious, funny guy. Enjoyed the whole show. He ended up having to kick this woman out. She was sitting in the front row, and you know, we were in the front row of the seats or of the arena seating, but she was in the front row on the floor. We couldn't really hear her. He's like in the middle of his story, telling this like jokes, you know, setting up a joke, and all of a sudden he just goes, "All right, will you please shut the fuck up? Like, somebody please, will you stop talking? Actually, you know what? Fuck it, get her out of here. Like, she's been talking for the last 10 minutes, and I've really, really tried to like look past it. I can't do it anymore. You gotta leave. I apologize. I hate to be the bad guy, but you gotta leave." And it was really like, whoa, man, like, not used to seeing that side of him. But he was right to do so. And at the same time, like, right as that was happening, as he asked this woman to leave, and as she got escorted out, this woman, 2 seats down from where I'm sitting, just is not having a conversation with anybody else, not talking to her friends or her neighbors or whatever. She's having a conversation with Theo Von. Like, Theo's on stage saying stuff like, "Yeah, so I've been looking to get married. I want to have kids." And she's like, "You really should. You deserve them. I've got kids, and they're the best thing that's ever happened." I'm like, I felt even worse for the 2 people sitting next to me because they were right next to her. And I felt bad because she had some titties on her. So I was like, fuck, I really wanted to like you, but now I fucking hate you. You are the worst person in here. Because, hey, I don't know if you are aware of this. He's up there doing an act. He's not sitting here talking to you. He's not having a conversation with you. There's 8,000 people in this arena. And you think he's talking directly at you? And you think he can hear you? Hey, bitch! Shut the fuck up! I wanted to stomp a mud hole in her ass and walk it dry! I want to stomp a mud hole in her tits and walk them dry. And suck them dry. Jeez, man. Yeah, that was, I mean, overall the show was great. Look, we had an opportunity to meet him, and we fucked up. We didn't go to the right place. Bummer, but you know, it is what it is. Still, great time, you know. So I just wanted to bring that up because that happened last night. It was a good time. And shout out to Theo Von. Apologies for the rude crowd, but you know, you handled it like a professional, and hopefully we see you back here, man, because it was a great time having you. And hopefully he's enjoyed his time here in Montana. I really do hope that. All right, let's round this show off. We still got some more Halloween stuff to talk about. So I will finish this out. I was thinking about this because, you know, I'm a huge music guy. Music is my thing. And as I've probably mentioned every Halloween special, metal, rock and metal, which are that's my forte, that's my jam, that's Halloween is that's rock and metal's time to shine. That's when the best Halloween music, these are the bands and the groups and the songs that embody Halloween. So, one thing I don't think I actually have done is make a list, okay? Who are the top 10 Halloween bands? Now, I'm sure you're already thinking of a bunch of ones in your head. But before we make this list, here is the criteria. Okay? In order to be on this list, for me, you have to have multiple songs that incorporate or are somehow Halloween themed. You know, talking about, you know, werewolves, vampires, just spooky Halloween themed things. Multiple songs that involve that. Okay, that's number one. That's your first. That's the first thing that has to be for you to be eligible for this list. And now, because I know a lot of bands will have a couple songs like that, but then a lot, or maybe even like multiple songs like that, but not every song is like that. And the second thing, you have to present as some, like, your stage performance and your theatrics or whatever, or just your artwork has to also reflect that of horror theme, Halloween/horror theme. So those are your two, the two caveats in order to be on this list. Now, first and foremost, I want to tell, because I've already made this list, I've thought long and hard about it. Few honorable mentions that I want to throw out there go to Slipknot, Mushroomhead, Insane Clown Posse, and every black metal band that's ever existed. So Slipknot and Mushroomhead, while they dress in costume, they're spooky costumes, right? Their songs don't reflect the horror genre. They're visually they do. They look like they're ready to go trick-or-treating at all times. But the music doesn't reflect the horror genre. Insane Clown Posse, I could see them falling into this list. But I did specify rock and metal. Okay? So that's why they're towing the line a little bit there for me. And then, of course, you have to at least mention every black metal band ever, because you just have to. So here's my list, okay? Coming in at number 10 for the Halloween themed bands. I had to go with the band Halloween. It's in the name. Now, they're not as well known. They're older. They don't really have they have like no hits, but they are called Halloween. That's the theme. So they have to make the list. Number 9, I'm going to give to King Diamond. King Diamond is number 9. Number 8, I'm going to go with Gwar. Gwar comes in at number 8. I mean, they are the one. They all dress up in really horror shit. They dump blood on the crowd. I don't really know a lot of Gwar songs, but I know that they are themed that way. Number, what are we on? 7? Number 7, I'm going to go with the band Ghost. Yes, I'm going to say Ghost. Obviously, they all dress up. It's definitely, it's towing the line of horror themed music, but it definitely fits. And the tone of the songs are very eerie. So a lot of these songs could be easily played at a Halloween party and fit. What are we on? 1, 2, or 10, 9, 8, 7. So 6, number 6, we are going with the Misfits at number 6. I mean, you gotta add the Misfits to this list. Number 7, or number 5, right? Are we on 5? Yeah, number 5, we're gonna go with Ice Nine Kills. Literally, every one of their songs is about a horror movie, and on stage they reenact different parts of horror movies. So they have to be on this list. So I'm gonna put them at number 5. Number 4, we're going Marilyn Manson. I don't think I have to explain any further than that. Number 3, I'm going to go with Ozzy/Black Sabbath. The originals. You got songs like Bark at the Moon. Black Sabbath originated like that dark, eerie horror sound. Diary of a Madman from Ozzy. Like, there's plenty of songs to go around that are horror genre. And he's the Prince of Darkness. You have to put him on there. Number 2, Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper embodies horror. He kills himself on stage. It's very theatrical. You got songs like Feed My Frankenstein and Poison. You know, these are very good songs, and he's very much in the horror theme. And of course, who else to be number 1 than the guy that I dressed up as last year, Rob Zombie. His name is Zombie. His whole shtick is horror. And not only that, the music fucking slaps. So, number one by far, Halloween themed band goes to Rob Zombie. So that was my list. I thought that was kind of something that you might enjoy. Hey, if you need some music to listen to for your Halloween party, you're welcome. Just gave you a whole list of bands that would be perfect. Yeah, I think that'll perfectly wrap us up here on this year's Halloween podcast, the Halloween special of Life's a Garden. Thank you so very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. Again, please be responsible, drive safe, crack open plenty of beers, have plenty of beers. That's the way Stone Cold Steve Austin would do it. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, Tombstone Cold Steve Austin, would definitely recommend getting a safe ride home, being responsible. Don't be a jerk. Be kind to others. Have fun, but don't be disrespectful and don't get out of line. You know what I'm saying? So yes, cheers to all of you. Happy Halloween. Let me get my belt back up here. Gotta get the belt back on. Happy Halloween, everybody. Actually, you know what? Let's crack open another beer because we gotta do it Stone Cold style, right? Cheers to all of you. Have a happy and safe Halloween. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. And don't forget, life's a graveyard. Rest in peace.